Hello and welcome. I'm Lyndon Walker, and I hope you enjoy the video. Here's my initial sketch. Again, I don't have footage of this because I drew this while I was out and about, but I'll be getting around to doing some traditional filming. In this picture, I specifically wanted to practice my inking. Originally, I had planned to keep this entirely traditional, but I decided to bring it to a finish digitally last minute. In part because I'm still learning to use my camera properly, and I didn't like any of the paper I had on hand. Most of the paper I have is cold press watercolor paper, which I like very much, but cold press paper is generally more textured and a bit harder to work with if you plan to use pens and nibs, because they can get caught in the grooves of the paper and pull up the pulp and all of that, which isn't fun. So I've made the note to myself to get some smoother hot press paper, eventually. We'll see if that actually happens. Now in this picture, opposed to my last painting where the scene was very structural and man-made, I decided to do a complete 180 again and do something very naturalistic. There is no in-between, apparently. Something I tried to focus on in this piece were the braids. I feel as though I don't draw styled hair often enough, and I'm not quite as confident in my handling. As I went about rendering, I found I could incorporate more of the same forms into other aspects of the picture to create a greater sense of unity, if you would. Most directly, I did this in the braided bracelet on the figure's wrist, and more subtly in the brick terrace, with what I later found out to be called a herringbone pattern, which at first glance seemed like an unusual name to me until I looked up pictures of herringbone skeletons out of curiosity, and then it just made complete sense. At this point, I wanted to share that during my break from drafting this video and all of that, I made myself a quesadilla and promptly dropped the whole thing into the soapy dishwater of my sink. And I cannot describe just how devastating it was in that moment to have that happen. I ended up making some eggs though, and heating up a drumstick that I had left in the fridge, and I treated myself to a Saranac Shirley Temple to make myself feel better. It was very good, I liked it a lot. It was very sweet. It's really the little things that make the days go by right now. All things considered, my days are usually going to work, going to the grocery store, or just staying home. And like I mentioned in previous videos, I'll go down the street to get a bubble tea or a cheese smoothie or something along those lines. And I realize now that to some of you, a cheese smoothie probably sounds kinda weird. And it did to me too, but I decided I would be a little adventurous one day and give it a whirl. The worst case scenario for this would be that I hated it and I lost a couple bucks, but now it's one of my favorite drinks. It's kind of like the filling of a cannoli. You can also add fruit or whatever you like to it. It's a very versatile beverage, and if we've learned anything here, it's that if I could, I would probably live off a liquid diet. Because that's just how my brain works, I guess. That, or I don't like taking the time to eat when I could be using that time to draw, but I'm working on it. I actually generally like cooking, but when I get into the drawing zone, nothing else exists. Actually, the other day I was painting and listening to music, and my roommate actually walked into the room and started dancing to my radio in an attempt to get my attention. It did not work, but I guess I'm not easily distracted, but at what cost? Also, as a side note, I hope you like the light music I put into the background. It gave me an excuse to get my guitar Odysseus out to jam a little bit, and also to coat him with stickers that I had been collecting. It was kind of therapeutic, or something like that. Very fun. They were mostly stickers my friends had either made or found for me, and if you're wondering, because I know you are, yes, there are chicken stickers, among many other birds. as well as fish, fantasy creatures, and other lovable vermin. Also, a lot of Pusheen. I just really adore that little gray kitty, and she's the love of my life. Also a bunch of moths. I don't know how I got so many moths, but moths are cool too. When I say that, I'm specifically thinking of Mothman, just so you know. However, I'm yet to obtain a Mothman sticker. It is on my list of things to do, an ever-expanding list of things to do. Going to the store to get batteries is one of them. I was supposed to do that today, and I completely forgot. I was even next to the store. Oh well. I didn't need to use the TV remote anyway. I realized when deciding on which animals to include in this piece that I had never actually drawn a corgi. They are really cute, but they are also really oddly proportioned, with their giant ears, little itty-bitty legs, and sausage bodies. Honestly, they have the ideal form in my opinion, second only to the chicken, of course. Not to mention, I'm also recording this in what I like to refer to as the sound dome. See, I still haven't entirely gotten over people hearing me record, so I decided to make a physical barrier to create a mental barrier to that. What I mean by that is, I made a little pillow for it, and if I can't see or really hear people listening to me, then I don't worry about it as much. So I just got myself all hauled up in here with my recording equipment, some ice water because it gets really warm because I covered it with blankets, and a whale nightlight that I have had on my shelf for a while, that if I bonk him, he changes colors, so that makes it extra fun. However, I'm definitely going to have to do my yoga stretches after this because it's a very small space and I can feel my back and neck slowly caving in on themselves, so hopefully I'll be done soon. That really just depends on how quickly I talk. That or the whole thing will come tumbling down on me when I least expect it, which, you know, just adds a little bit of excitement to my day-to-day life. Now, you may have noticed me doing this earlier on in the video, but on this portion of the painting, I'm using a subtractive method to create the leaves on the bushes. Essentially, I'm laying down the black soon-to-be outline and removing portions to make the shapes that I want, as opposed to tracing my sketch and then filling in the space around it. Circumstantially, I find this usually to yield better looking results while also taking less time to do so, which is very important to me. Oh, before I forget, I just wanted to acknowledge the absolutely obscene amount of leaves I made myself draw here. Overall, conceptually captivating, but maddening in practice. But, like I mentioned earlier on, it's the little things that count, and all in all, this greenery, in my opinion, really brings the piece together. And speaking of little things, that reminds me of something else conceptually small. It's me, I'm very short. But no, and actually, something else. Not too long ago, I was at work, and my manager actually gifted me a couple packs of bubblegum. They came in a few flavors. There was a grape one, a melon, orange, and strawberry, which I actually tried first. Strawberry tends to be my go-to flavor for most things, but I think if I had to choose a favorite fruity flavor, it would probably be something like peach or mango, preferably if peach or mango are mixed together. I think that's probably some of the best stuff. Anyway, after they gifted me the bubblegum, we started talking about different bubblegums and candies that we remembered from our childhood. I specifically remembered Double Bubble, the bubblegum that had the duck with a pink mohawk logo. That's probably why I remembered it. And we also remembered the Zebra Stripes bubblegum, the gum that was striped just like zebras, as the name would imply. It came in a billion different flavors, and like Fruit Loops, they all tasted the same, but the colors made you think that they tasted different, which I'm still kind of mad about. Anyway, when I got home and not too long after the conversation, I remembered another bubble gum that I always really, really liked. It was called Chiclets. It came in a little orange box, and the Chiclets were kind of like little Tic Tac size squares. They came in two different sizes. Some were the Tic Tac size, and others were like the size of your fingernail. And they had a thick outer candy shell that gave them a real nice crunch. And overall, I just always remembered being very fascinated with them, probably because of the name. They are called Chiclets, which sounds like chickens, and that would just generally be on brand for me. If I can find a reason to fit chickens into a video, then I will. Anyway, I believe we're starting to get towards the end now, and all in all, I wanted to keep this illustration a little more reserved in its handling. Sometimes less is more and all of that. It doesn't have to be over-the-top complicated. Sometimes if all you can manage is some buttered pasta, then that's great. Pasta is excellent. You can't make a 5-course meal every day, and it's just really important to take breaks and take care of yourself in whatever way you can. So, if you haven't yet today, do something nice for yourself, and thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.